This represents the electorate in India's 2024 elections, an aggregate mass of 980 million eligible voters. To put that in perspective, this single voting bloc is 15 times the population of the United Kingdom, spread across an area 6 times the size of France. When India gained independence in 1947, the decision to let every single adult participate in the democratic process immediately was met with intense international skepticism. The math seemed impossible. At the time, only 14% of the country's population could read or write. Many established Western democracies had spent decades slowly expanding voting rights to different demographics. Women in places like Switzerland, for example, wouldn't secure the vote until 1971. India implemented universal adult franchise on day one. The immediate result was millions of citizens, regardless of caste, gender, income, or literacy, lining up together to cast their first ballots. The promise of universal franchise was committed to paper in the Constitution. To fulfill it, the state had to coordinate millions of moving parts across one of the most varied geographies on Earth. Since 1950, this headquarters in New Delhi has served as the independent administrative center for those nationwide operations. This flowchart tracks their rigid chain of command. The Chief Election Commissioner directs a hierarchy stretching through state executives to local returning officers. At the base, millions of personnel, often local school teachers, staff over 1 million polling stations. Inside those stations, the micromechanics are strictly controlled. Voters are directed behind privacy screens to ensure the secret ballot is absolute, preventing anyone from seeing or influencing their final selection. And if a citizen looks at that ballot and finds no acceptable candidate, they have another option, NOTA, which stands for none of the above. NOTA allows a voter to officially reject everyone running in their constituency. It does not overturn an election result, but it acts as a quiet mechanism for voters to demand better political choices. That vast administrative hierarchy outside the booth and the strict privacy rules inside serve a singular purpose: shielding the individual voter's freedom of choice from any external pressure. To protect that choice, you first have to physically reach the voter. The Commission's operational mandate dictates that no eligible citizen can be left behind. To achieve that, they dispatch electoral officials carrying electronic voting machines through dense forests, along remote borders, and up snow-capped mountain passes, just to secure a single isolated vote. In 2024, they expanded targeted accessibility measures. Here, officials are bringing a sealed ballot box directly to an elderly citizen who could not travel to a polling location. They rolled out Braille-enabled ballot cards and allowed voters to request wheelchair and ramp assistance via mobile app. Deploying government personnel to a high-altitude tent or a private home is difficult and expensive, but it is the literal cost of doing business when a system commits to true universal franchise. All of this coordination culminates in electing representatives for 543 national parliamentary constituencies, along with over 250,000 local government bodies. You can trace the outcome of those millions of local and national races back to people like Shyam Saran Negi. In the winter of 1951, he became the very first person to cast a vote in an independent India. He continued to participate in every general election, relying on this electoral network until he was over 100 years old in 2017. Across all those decades and hundreds of millions of voters, the basic proof of participation remains identical: a simple mark of indelible purple ink on the index finger. The scale of this operation shows that when a democracy commits to absolute equality, it must maintain a permanent, evolving infrastructure to protect it.